Hi, this is Adele with Authentica.com. Now on this channel we like to get into in-depth things, the deeper meanings of life, human potential, understanding human behavior and emotion. But every once in a while I like to throw in something kind of fun that lets you know a little bit more about me and my life and some of the cool things that I've experienced. Now I studied forestry in college, and I was able to do some pretty cool things within that program and with my education, and one of which was a job I held with the government, and what that involved was scouting for red treetops from a helicopter. So we'd look for these red treetops because it indicated that there was mountain pine beetle possibly in this cluster of trees, and then we'd have to go down, hike to the area that we'd taken the GPS coordinates from the air, and take some samples from these trees if they appeared to have mountain pine beetle problem. But the thing is that when you're flying in a helicopter in the mountains, you can't just land it anywhere. So oftentimes we would get landed on literal mountain top, and then we'd go down, find the trees, but it's not like we could hike back up a mountaintop to get picked up. We'd have to find a place that the helicopter could pick us up from, and then radio those coordinates in wherever they were, and the helicopter would come find us at our new location where they could pick, where they would be able to reach us, because you actually can't, there's not enough room for a helicopter to land in the middle of the woods with like all the trees. That doesn't work. So on this particular day, that's exactly what we did. We got the coordinates, we went down the ground, we found the cluster of trees, and then we looked back up the mountain, realized we couldn't make it back up with all our equipment, and started to look for an area that we could get picked up at. So that involved a lot of hiking. We ended up finding a riverbank that we would be able to be picked up at, because it was like a last-ditch effort. There was really nowhere else that a helicopter could land at. Now, the thing with this riverbank was that it kind of was at the bottom of a sheer drop. And it wasn't like a perfectly straight drop, but it was kind of like we kind of scoot ourselves over the edge and then kind of tumble down to the bottom. It's not something you could just get back up from. Once we went down that kind of sheer drop to the riverbank, we were just kind of trapped there until the helicopter could come get us. So we were just relaxing. Yes, that's right, I was getting paid to relax by a pristine river edge on the top of a mountain on a beautiful summer's day. And this, I call it a river. I would really call it a river. It's kind of like it was a very small river. It was very fast moving, and I was just watching, everything go by as this river was just building and going faster and faster. And it was a lot of trees that were getting carried away downstream. So I was thinking, it might have been from a storm, or it might have washed out a bank and some trees were falling. I wasn't sure what was happening, but I was watching these trees go by, and then suddenly I noticed something kind of weird with these trees that were starting to speed past the riverbank. And I just looked up and I just said, "What is that?" And at the sound of my voice, that I was referring to turned and looked at us, and it was actually a grizzly bear that was hitching a ride in these trees in the middle of this river. So we all just kind of froze at that point. Now, we got a lot of training about how to deal with all different types of wildlife you might encounter. With bears, it's not really straightforward, because you kind of have to determine a bunch of different factors in the situation, such as, does the bear feel threatened? Does the bear have children? Is it being territorial? Is it a sick, hungry bear that's going to try to eat you because you look like easy prey? There's a bunch of different factors you have to kind of take into account. But from most of my experiences, when it's a surprise encounter like this, all of your training kind of goes out the window, and you just have this gut instinct that will usually cause you to just stand there. It started making its way from the center of the stream towards the small riverbank that we were standing on. And that was really unnerving. And we all just kind of backed further away from it as it was coming out of the water and stood there together, standing there, staring at it. We all kind of had some weapons. We were completely cornered. There was really nowhere we could have gone except into the water. And we didn't know where the water was headed, but it looked like, by the way how it was moving, it was probably headed towards somewhere where it was taking you over the edge. One of us had a drill that could have been used as a weapon in a crisis mode. We had like an axe, we had hammers, stuff like that. But he actually just kind of stood there, and we had this moment where he just stared at us for a few seconds. And we just kind of stared back, which you're actually not supposed to do. I remember us kind of whispering to each other, don't make eye contact, like look away because you don't want to intimidate, etc. We're just trying to make it seem like we're just chilling, like go away. But this bear looked at us with the weirdest expression. I have no idea what it could have been thinking about these people standing there. I mean, it's not like this bear had, I mean, who knows, because they do have a very wide range, but we were really in the middle of absolute nowhere. I'm talking, people don't go camping here. You can't hike here. There's no roads. There's nothing to get out here. So this bear was like, we were probably the strangest things I'd ever encountered. And one minute it was staring at us, and the next it was gone. And it was literally that quick that it happened. And we realized that it had taken off straight up the drop that had led to the embankment that we could never have gotten up ourselves, you know, given the time and effort. But this bear just took it like it was nothing, and it was so fast that we didn't even see where it went. We just had to know that that's the only place he could have gone. That's how fast it was. So that was definitely a really cool experience. I can't really say that I feared for my life. I think most predatory or scary or carnivorous animals get a bad rap that they are out to eat and attack people, but the reality is, from all the encounters I've had, which also include sharks while scuba diving, wolves, I've encountered in the bush as well, they just want to be left alone, just like all the other animals. You know, no one's ever worried that a deer is going to follow them home or anything like that. You know, you see one and it takes off before you even have a chance, and most predatory or carnivorous animals are actually kind of like that too. Most, not all. It's all about the situation, where you are, the time of year, a bunch of things to take into account. I've got a link below this video that gives you some great advice for handling bears if you encounter them in the wild. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching it, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.